Welcome back to the deep dive. We take all this complex information, stacks of it sometimes, and really try to boil it down for you.
Get to the core of it.
Exactly. And today, we're shifting gears a bit, moving away from, what used to be fringe speculation, UFOs,
Right.
and into the corridors of power. We're talking about UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. And this whole change, this move from conspiracy stuff to a serious national security issue, it's really been pushed by some high-level whistleblowers, people from inside the Pentagon.
It's a huge shift. And our mission today, well, it's to dive deep, but focusing only on the sources provided. We're looking at the specific claims, and some are pretty sensational, made by two former Pentagon officials, Luis Elizondo and David Grush,
Yeah.
very credentialed individuals.
And we'll put their claims up against, well, the big one, right? Roswell. Compare it all and look at why science seems kind of stuck right now. Okay, so let's start with the guy who really kind of kicked this current phase off. Luis Elizondo. He directed ATIP. That's the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Secretive stuff.
Yeah, ATIP wasn't like some hobby group. It was a formal government program. They were analyzing actual data on advanced aerospace threats, things that didn't fit known categories.
And Elizondo walked away.
He resigned, yeah, back in 2017. He
Yeah.
said he was deeply concerned that the potential threat from these objects just wasn't being taken seriously enough higher up,
And his resignation, that's what led to those videos getting out, the Navy pilot ones.
Pretty much. That leak, it included the famous Tic Tac video, objects doing things our tech just can't do.
The impossible maneuvers.
And that disclosure, it really forced the Defense Department's hand. They had to publicly admit that they'd researched 144 incidents. And out of those, 143 remained totally unexplained.
Wow, 143 out of 144.
Think about that. Just admitting that number of unknowns, advanced objects, that was honestly a huge moment just a few years back. It set the stage for everything that's happened since.
It really did. Okay, let's bring in the other big name here, David Grush. He's more recent, coming forward in the last couple of years. Another intelligence guy, very decorated.
And he went straight to Congress. Didn't just leak things. He went through official channels with claims about, well, massive illegal cover-ups.
Yeah, claiming the U.S. has recovered actual craft, non-human craft.
Intact and partially intact vehicles was his grazing, and even biological material. Recovered over decades, he claims. And what's really striking is how seriously the system took his claims.
Yeah, it wasn't just a letter to his congressman. He gave, 11 hours of classified testimony?
11 hours classified to congressional investigators. And then the inspector general, who's supposed to be this independent watchdog, they looked into it preliminarily and called his claims credible and urgent.
Credible and urgent. That's strong language from an IG.
It really is. It suggests his sources, the people he cited in that classified testimony, were considered very reliable. But, and this is a huge but, here's the critical difference and where the skepticism comes in. Okay. Grush openly admits he hasn't personally seen or touched any of these alleged objects or materials. He's reporting what he was told by others, albeit high-level sources, according to him.
So it's secondhand information, even if from credible people. That's a big hurdle for, say, scientific proof.
Exactly. Where's the photo? The piece of metal. The verifiable data, it leads straight to this impasse. You have people like Professor Joshua Semeter at BU, who's on a NASA panel specifically tasked with bringing scientific rigor to UAPs.
Right.
And he's clear. Without verifiable evidence, artifacts, photos, data you can measure, they're basically stuck. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof, and they're still waiting for that concrete evidence to move beyond, intelligence testimony.
But Grush's defenders have an answer for that, don't they? They say it's not that the evidence isn't there, it's that it's locked away, classified.
Yes, the classification issue. He specifically mentions TSSCI, special access programs.
TSSCI, top secret sensitive compartmented information. That's like the highest level there is.
Precisely. So Grush's argument is, look, I can't legally release the specifics. It would violate federal law, maybe risk national security. He says he gave Congress the proof, the program names, the people involved in that classified setting. It's up to them to declassify or reveal it.
So you've got these credible insiders saying the proof exists, but it's behind this massive legal wall, and scientists saying we can't verify anything without seeing over that wall. That's quite a bind for anyone trying to figure this out.
It's a huge systemic challenge, a real catch-22.
Okay, let's pivot slightly using that contrast. Grush is maybe the more cautious whistleblower, working within the system, relying on secondhand accounts. But Elizondo, His claims always felt more direct, more visceral, and frankly more alarming, focusing on an immediate, even existential threat.
And that's where Elizondo makes a key distinction from Grush. Elizondo claims he personally handed some of this stuff, physical evidence.
He held it.
He says he held material that government scientists studied, and that these scientists concluded it was very special material, highly unlikely to be man-made, and definitely engineered.
Engineered material, not ours. Wow. And didn't he go even further? Something about biological evidence?
Yes, I mean, these claims are quite specific and frankly shocking. He alleges he handled biological samples, tissue samples. He described them as alleged non-human implants removed surgically from people.
Implants? Inside people?
That's the claim. And that analysis showed these samples, quote, do not behave like anything that we are normally used to associating with being a natural part of the human body. He's insisting this is real, tangible stuff studied within the U.S. government.
It's hard to process that. Non-human tech inside human bodies.
It's deeply disturbing, if true. And Elizondo doesn't just talk materials. He talks about UAP behavior, their intentions. He claims they seem really attracted to our nuclear technology.
Or nukes.
Yes. Sometimes even interfering with weapon systems, he alleges,
Yeah?
nearly causing conflicts. He even says he was part of discussions about setting a trap.
A trap for a UAP.
Using U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and submarines as bait.
Wait, seriously? Using our biggest, most sensitive military assets as bait for some unknown, potentially hostile
Yeah.
thing? That sounds like something from a movie.
It sounds incredibly risky, but it highlights how seriously Elizondo says some people in the program viewed the potential threat. And he also claims these things aren't harmless bystanders. He alleges UAPs have cost lives, pointing to the Colares incidents in Brazil back in the 70s.
Colares, what happened there?
He claims 10 people on a Brazilian island were harmed, injured by lasers or beams coming from these objects.
Okay, so materials, bodies, interfering with nukes, harming people. These are heavy claims. But what's interesting is Elizondo's careful with his words sometimes. He prefers non-human intelligence over aliens. Why?
He finds alien too limiting. It immediately implies outer space, right? Extraterrestrial. He argues we can't rule out that this intelligence might be, as he put it, as natural to Earth as we are to this planet.
Natural to Earth? How?
He specifically points to the oceans. These craft are often seen entering and exiting water. And consider we've only mapped, what, maybe 10% of the ocean floor? He suggests they could potentially originate from down there, deep underwater bases or something.
So not necessarily ET, maybe. Ultra-terrestrial.
It completely reframes the possibilities, doesn't it? Moves it from maybe distant stars to potentially right under our noses or waves.
That is definitely a deep dive in thinking. Okay, to make sense of these modern, highly classified claims, we almost have to go back. Back to 1947, Roswell, the incident that really started it all in the public mind.
It's historical ground zero. And Elizondo specifically believes Roswell involved a non-human craft and 4 deceased non-human bodies.
So how did Roswell actually unfold according to the records?
Well, that summer of '47 was buzzing. First, pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing objects moving like a saucer would if you skipped it over water. That's where flying saucer came from.
Ah, the origin of the term.
Weeks later, this rancher, Mac Brazel, finds all this strange debris near Roswell, New Mexico. Metallic, unusual stuff.
And the military's first reaction?
Was stunningly open. The Roswell Army Airfield put out a press release. They actually confirmed they had captured a flying saucer. Imagine that headline today.
Can't even fathom it, but that didn't last long.
No, within 24 hours, complete reversal. A stunning development, they called it. General Roger Ramey held a press conference, showed photos of himself holding what looked like, tinfoil, rubber, wooden sticks.
Yeah, the famous photos.
And said, nope, sorry folks, just a weather balloon. That was the first official story. Simple weather device.
But the story itself, it just wouldn't die down.
Not completely. It went sort of dormant for decades, then flared up again in 1978. Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who actually handled the original debris back in '47, he came forward.
What did he say?
He claimed those weather balloon photos. Totally staged. A cover story. Said the real debris he saw was unlike anything he'd ever encountered. That really reignited everything. Decades of speculation, books, documentaries.
Which eventually forced the government's hand again, right? In the 90s, they had to address it officially.
They did. Under pressure, they released 2 big reports, years apart, trying to explain Roswell. And this is where the official story gets, well, complicated.
Okay, report number 1.
1994. They admitted, okay, it was a balloon, but not a weather balloon.
It's
It's part of Project Mogul.
Project Mogul.
Yeah. Top secret Cold War project. They were using high-altitude balloons with microphones to try and detect Soviet nuclear bomb tests from the sound waves traveling through the upper atmosphere. Classified espionage tech.
So the cover story, it was a balloon, was technically true, just not the type of balloon or its purpose. Sneaky.
Very. But then the whole alien bodies part of the Roswell legend had grown so big they had to address that too. So second report, 1997.
What was the explanation for the bodies?
This one's really strained credibility for a lot of people. They claimed the reports of bodies were a case of mistaken identity, or rather conflated memories over time.
Conflated with what?
They argued that people were confusing the 1947 crash debris story with memories of seeing anthropomorphic crash test dummies. Dummies that were dropped in parachute tests. But those tests happened mostly in the 1950s, years later, and often at different locations nearby.
Wait, they're saying people mixed up a balloon crash in 47 with crash test dummies from the 50s. That seems like a real stretch.
It's why the official explanation often gets met with skepticism, even derision. You're asking people to believe witnesses got confused across different decades and different types of events. It feels, to many, like a weak attempt to explain away persistent, troubling details.
And that kind of explanation, well, it just fuels the fire for guys like Elizondo and Grush, doesn't it? It feeds the narrative of a long-term cover-up.
Absolutely. Because if the official story seems that convoluted, it makes claims of hidden truths seem perhaps more plausible to some.
So, despite everything we've just discussed, the whistleblower claims, the Roswell history, the official line today from the Department of Defense, is still denial.
Firm denial.
Yeah.
They put out a report just this past March. Flatly states no evidence of the U.S. possessing any alien craft or bodies, period. They attribute most sightings, including Roswell, to known, often experimental or classified, human technology.
So it's either ours or maybe Russian or Chinese secret tech. That's the official explanation for UAPs now.
Pretty much. But Elizondo hits back hard against that, especially regarding the quality of the evidence the government holds. We, the public, we see these grainy, blurry videos.
Like a Tic Tac one, yeah.
But Elizondo insists the government has, and these are his words, videos in Ultra 4K high definition that would knock your socks off.
Ultra 4K, so crystal clear footage exists?
According to him, yes. Footage he says he's personally seen, which proves definitively that these objects are not U.S. tech, and not any known foreign adversary's tech either. He claims he was basically forced to release only the least compelling non-classified clips back when he was trying to get this taken seriously, keep the really good stuff hidden.
So when you let it all out, based on these sources, we're really looking at two completely different realities existing side by side.
It certainly seems that way. On one side, you have these highly credible, decorated former intelligence officials, Elizondo, Grush alleging massive multi-decade cover-ups, crashed craft, exotic engineered materials, even biological samples, all studied secretly by government scientists.
And on the other side,
You have the official statements, the Pentagon government reports consistently denying all of it, attributing Roswell to Project Mogul, modern sightings to secret drones or experimental aircraft, full stop.
and Elizondo would argue that secrecy is maintained how? Not just by stamps on files.
Right. He argues it's also maintained through legal threats, intimidation, ridicule. He points to his own experiences and also draws parallels to other major government secrets that were kept for years, like the Pentagon Papers detailing Vietnam lies or Iran-Contra. His point is that the system is designed for extreme secrecy, sometimes hiding huge truths even from Congress and the public.
Which leaves you, the listener, in a really tough spot. Who do you believe when the actual proof, if it exists, is locked behind these impenetrable classification walls? The knowledge we've kind of unpacked today really boils down to assessing credibility. It's these decorated individuals versus the consistent denials of powerful government agencies.
Yeah, and whether you lean towards believing Elizondo and Grush's detailed accounts, or you accept the official government reports and denials, one thing feels certain. The conversation itself has fundamentally changed. It's permanent now. Well, the question isn't really if our military pilots are seeing advanced, unidentified objects anymore. The government, thanks to those video leaks, has admitted they are. The debate now is purely about what those objects are. And perhaps just as importantly, why do these key insiders keep risking everything? Their careers, potential legal trouble to leak, remarkably similar, highly sensitive claims. The persistence is notable.
And maybe here's a final thought to chew on, something that connects back to those classification walls we keep hitting. If these highly classified programs can operate successfully for decades, hiding information not just from the public, but maybe even from presidents, from Congress, then what kind of technology, possibly non human, like that alleged reverse engineering Grush talks about, what might be secretly benefiting certain defense contractors? And how much would that potential private benefit, that financial incentive, influence the government's willingness to ever actually come clean with the full truth? Something to consider as you process this deep dive.